This is like a win for sanity. You had to feel vindicated.
I think it really shows us that the University of Pennsylvania knows that they were in the wrong.
Now I feel like it's almost flipping to the other side where people are silent if they feel another way about it.
I'm still waiting for them to give us an apology.
You were bullied into silence. It's what happened behind the scenes here, too.
In society, for some reason, people look up to the Ivy League institutions. Look, I went there. We shouldn't be looking up to these places at all.
Victory for women. And by now you know that Penn has had to pen an apology to the female athletes and swimmers who had competed with and, without their consent, had to be in a dressing room with Lia Thomas. And what a way to kick off the show with this. Paula Scanlan joins us. Paula, of course, a teammate of Lia Thomas's for a year. Paula, thank you for the time.
Thank you guys for having me on. I love getting on with you guys.
Think about the timeline of this. This is like a win for sanity, I think. And you've been on this several times. You go from having to deal with this in the moment to being at the White House whenever you're finding out that there's been this agreement.
Well, in 2021 to now. I mean,
That's
think about everything that's happened with this
story
and the
actually,
reporting.
2019 is when this actually originally started.
Yeah.
That's when we first found out he announced to us that he was a woman and he was joining our team. I mean, this has really been a long, year-long process. I could probably write like 3 novels on just that time alone.
Yeah, I mean, it is. But this is a victory. But you have the president who's making this happen, championing the fact that women need to compete against women in sports. And for whatever the reason was that they came to this agreement, you had to feel vindicated.
Definitely. I mean, I think it really shows us that the University of Pennsylvania knows that they were in the wrong. I mean, they wouldn't have come to this agreement if they truly believed what they had done to us. They would have doubled down on it. They would have continued to try to get out of it. But I think what they're looking at and what they've seen in just the news and the culture and all these different voices that have come out, I mean, I think it's something that made the University of Pennsylvania look really bad. I think people pulled out funding, not even just the Trump administration pulling federal funds, but I personally, Paula Scanlan, who no one should care about, heard from 40 different alums of the University of Pennsylvania that said they were never going to donate again over this issue. Over my last couple years of doing this, 40 different unique people have reached out to me saying they're alums and they never want to give the school another penny over this issue.
Paula, and I bring up 2021 as the date because it was late 2021, I think, when OutKick started reporting on it. I know Joe Kinsey had the first story. Clay Travis was someone who started talking about it from the beginning. Our show was talking about it then. And I'm curious how you felt then versus how you feel now. And I know you have a lot of the same sentiments about being an actual inside part of that story that have not changed, but in the public sphere, we went from 2021 where OutKick was the only place reporting on it and the only place saying the truth about it. And now I feel like it's almost flipping to the other side where people are silent if they feel another way about it. Like it's almost like the shame has shifted in this whole story, and it culminates with Penn, of all schools, acknowledging they were wrong in this story. How do you feel about that transition that happened from 2021 to now?
I mean, exactly, you're right. I mean, if people nowadays, I feel like if I hear silence on this, I assume that it means they're supportive of trans athletes because it's become this wildly unpopular stance. But back in the day, in 2021, we were made to believe that we were going to kill someone, or we were a bigot, or we were racist if we didn't want a man on our team and undressing in our locker room. I mean, that is exactly what we were told. And I remember I was tracking all of even the mainstream conservative news outlets, many of which that I frequent with. I have friends that work for many of these outlets now. Like, they didn't even know that this was happening. They were not even reporting on this story. It was really this random article that Joe Kinsey had written in 2021 where he had figured it out. He had figured out that this dude that was dropping crazy times in the women's category out of nowhere was actually previously a man. And I had reached out to him on Twitter, actually, of all places, before it was bought by Elon, when it was still, everyone was still being censored over there on Twitter. I sent him a little DM and I said, hey, thank you so much I've been waiting for people to talk about this. And it turned into this anonymous interview that blew up everywhere back in 2021. And then a lot of my teammates found out, and I ultimately ended up getting canceled from it. One of those text messages I posted last night for the first time. So it is really crazy to see the difference. And that teammate who felt that the need to send me that horrible text message that was over on my Twitter, that same teammate probably is dead silent now because we are in the majority now, not the minority.
No one's offering you psychological training, right? Or right? I mean, that's what happened. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's exactly what they told us. They said, please seek psychological help. Here's the number for a counselor. I mean, maybe I should ask the University of Pennsylvania in their apology letter if they're willing to give me the money I should use to pay for these psychological services or something.
So have you received the letter?
I have not. All we've received, and I posted those over on X. Sorry to dead name Twitter. I posted those over. It was just this blanket statement that they gave to, I think, all university students. There was one for all university students, and I think one only for all of the student athletes. But I'm still waiting for them to give us an apology. Obviously, there's two different routes they can go down here. They can just, half-ass the apology for lack of a better explanation and just say, we're sorry you were upset. Or they can really come in and say, we really are sorry for the part that we played in your harm in this instance. And I'm very curious to know which tone they're going to fall into.
Paula, I'm encouraged that it feels like most of America and all the polls that you read and everything else, they're on the right side of history on this with this issue of keeping men out of women's sports, a side that you've been on throughout. I am a tad bit discouraged when I read the email from Penn that you posted last night, because I'm just reading a lot of legalese words in there and these sort of acrobatics of, we reached a conclusion on the Title IX investigation, and here's what the Title IX investigation says. It's not as much personal ownership as I'd like to see. It reads like we've been forced by this tyrannical president to issue a statement denouncing this, so now we are issuing the apology that we have been mandated to issue. And that's how I'm looking at the discourse online. Yeah. And people who have a problem with it, they're not saying that Paula Scanlan's wrong, or they're not saying that men should compete with women. What they're saying is, look at this lunatic president forcing schools to issue statements of apology. And that kind of disheartens me a little bit. Are you seeing some of that as well? I'm
definitely seeing it, but keep in mind, this is a university that actually told me that I was racist. They said, you're the bigots in the 1960s that didn't want to undress with people based on their race in their locker room if you don't want to undress in front of this 6'4" tall, fully intact male. That is who we are dealing with here. So for me, the bar has already been below the floor at this point. Honestly, seeing any of this at all is a drastic change. So yeah, of course it's not quite adequate, and of course it's full of legal speak, and I'm sure they're also probably worried about the other side. I mean, who's to say that Lia Thomas doesn't pop up tomorrow and decide he wants to sue the university for wrongly stripping him of his titles, or that he's going to sue to have his records reinstated on the record board. I mean, who's to say what could happen on that end? So it sounds like they're really just trying to protect themselves. But what I've learned with not just this issue, but really everything in the entire world, if you are soft on something, you make everyone unhappy. And so I guarantee you, by being soft on this and giving this very stupid statement that they gave us, you've made the Lia Thomases of the world angry, but you're also making us angry as well. And really, the University of Pennsylvania should be firm in what they're doing and stand by it.
I mean, you were bullied into silence. I mean, it's not just about Lia Thomas broke records. I mean, it's what happened behind the scenes here, too. And Chad's got a great point. There has to be some level of sincerity here. There has to be, or it's...
I agree, but that wasn't addressed in any of those emails. It was all about the fairness. There was no part of it where they said, we're sorry that we brought in panels of administrators, and we're sorry that we told you that you needed a therapist because you didn't want to undress with a man, or we're sorry that we called you racist if you didn't want to undress with a man. I mean, the list goes on and on. And not to mention the forced classes they would make us go. We had to go to education courses at the LGBT Center. All of those different things that they forced us to do. There's no mention of any of that. And again, I'm very curious. You're kind of right. I doubt the apology will really address any of that.
So what do you see happening from here across college sports, women's sports? Do you see the trickle-down effect from this?
In a way, I do. I think there will be a good trickle-down effect. Just I don't agree with this, but in society, for some reason, people look up to the Ivy League institutions. Look, I went there. We shouldn't be looking up to these places at all. But there is that level of people look to them for a standard. And so other places, when considering what they should do with their policy, considering if they should allow men into these women's locker rooms and women's sports teams, they might look to what happened with the University of Pennsylvania and think, wow, a really well-known institution of higher education in this country did that, maybe we should reconsider our stance. And so I hope to see more of that. But again, this is really just the first step. There's a lot more reform that needs to happen, not just through the sports aspect, but through so many things in higher education. But what I will say is I am confident in the Trump administration for getting this done. And I know that we have a wonderful Secretary of Education in Linda McMahon that is getting this stuff done and is going to address these problems and really, again, put pressure on any institution, whether it's higher education like the University of Pennsylvania or these middle schools and high schools that are also doing this. She's going to hold them accountable. And I think we can count on them to do that. And
Yes.
they've showed again that they're delivering on their promises.
Yep.
Paula, perfect segue into my next question, because we know where Donald Trump stands on this. We know where Linda McMahon stands on this. It feels like it's a losing issue for Democrats, considering their silence most of the time on it now. Do you fear, though, that this is going to be a politically cyclical issue? That if Democrats get back in office, they can just go and rewrite a lot of the Title IX rules and make it to where this is acceptable again? Or do you think legitimate progress has been made?
It was definitely a fear I had upon reflecting on the day yesterday. But what I will say is Democrats don't even agree with this anymore. I'll give you guys actually a little exclusive here. Only one of my teammates has reached out to me just to congratulate me on my part in yesterday and all of this change. And actually that teammate, believe it or not, is my only left-leaning friend that I still have that didn't cancel me. She's a Democrat, but she agrees in common sense issues. And she told me that she's incredibly supportive on this and said that they are, quote unquote, finally doing the right thing. So if that's a
awesome.
person that's in the Democrat voter base, she's not going to support them in clawing this back in a couple of years. And there's a lot of other Democrats that also fall into that category.
That's awesome. If you were soft on something, you make everyone unhappy. I don't know if Paula Scanlan, if that's her official quote, or if she took that from somewhere else, but I'm going to credit it to Paula on that one. Paula, I know you've got a very busy day and night ahead. Appreciate you taking the time to join this show. And we're happy that OutKick was in this fight from the beginning, and thank you for being a part of it from the beginning.
Definitely. We got to do a 4-year reunion or run it back, or Joe and I have got to get on some interview together, maybe on your guys' show. I don't know. Not to put you on the spot, but we got to make it happen.
We would love that. Yeah. We'll make it happen in Nashville, too.
Right,
Nashville's a lovely place. We'll make it happen. Thank you so much, Paula.
Thank you, guys.
Paula Scanlan there. Yeah, I mean, think about the Take Back Title IX tour that they did.
Yeah.
And the work. I mean, she mentioned the friends that she lost, but what they gained. I mean, it's so impressive what they did across the country. I mean, it really is. And it's a victory, no matter if they're doing it for financial reasons or not. A victory for women's sports in all this. Riley Gaines, quickly. Riley Gaines was on with Dan Dockich earlier today. And there's another part of this that's really interesting. It's how the headlines read at certain places, especially ESPN.
I think in these past 2 or so years, they've remained relatively quiet on this issue. But then yesterday, they post, and their headline is, University of Pennsylvania bans trans women from sports. First of all, that's the headline that you're going to draw. No mention of the women who will receive their rightful national championship. People like Emma Wyatt. You're not going to mention her at all in this piece. That is literally crazy. This is a sports network. These are sports journalists. These are sports analysts. Like, these people, if anyone would understand what we're dealing with here, you would imagine that it's the people working at ESPN. But of course, remember, they're owned by Disney. And I think that ties a lot of them up. They have a whole lot of what I would describe as activists.
The full interview available at Chad. When I saw that and how they're positioning it, what? We're still doing this. It's frustrating, but it's also, like you're saying, there is a lot of silence instead of promoting a headline just for the sake of this. ESPN's been relatively silent the last 2 years.
Well,
from honoring Lia Thomas,
yeah,
to now acting like it's it's exactly how you phrased it. The tyrannical.
Yeah, it's turned from, okay, this is a losing issue. Most Americans agree men shouldn't compete in women's sports. So let's shift it now to, Donald Trump, big bad guy, is forcing people to do things, and it's infringing on the rights of all transgender people by doing this. I listen to different podcasts. I try to consume as much different types of media as possible, so I'm as informed as possible. And there are times I'll be listening to an entertainment podcast, and there will be some mention of, in a time in 2025 where the rights of transgender and queer people across the world, across the U.S., are being threatened daily. I'm thinking, what?
Right.
These are the things that are discussed that are talked about in such final terms that this is the worst thing to ever happen to humanity that you don't hear if you're only listening to one type of media, that I think is important to understand what's being out there. Here's another headline that I saw because it's from a woman that I follow for, funny enough, sports betting advice, but is extremely liberal. All right, and they're very angry about this Penn apology.
It's not Kelly in Vegas.
No, it's Sarah Civian is her name. I hope I pronounced that right. Civian. Sarah Civ on X, okay? Pop Crave posted, transgender swimming champion Lia Thomas will have her records and titles stripped after UPenn was pressured by the Trump administration. The university will also issue formal apologies to every biological female competitor who lost out to a transgender competitor, to which Sarah Civian reposted and just says, what a joke.
Well,
but again,
pressured.
But it's very vague. It's not what a joke. This 6'4" man should swim against these women. It's what a joke. The Trump administration has pressured someone through Title IX to issue an apology.
And it's more than it. So the thing that just baffles me, it's more than just a record on a sheet of paper. It is the women that were swimming for Penn were pressured. They were told to shut the hell up.
Yeah.
And deal with it. They weren't asked for consent for a man to walk into a women's locker room and get dressed. And this isn't about transgender rights to compete in sports. It's biological men competing against biological men and biological women competing against biological women. That's what this is, and that's it. I mean, it goes back to this, Chad. Why do you as a society do we always go to this point? If it's one administration, the other side has to automatically hate it.
Yeah.
And that's what this is. It's not like the vast majority of the country or the vast majority of the Democratic Party actually disagree with what we're saying today and what happened yesterday. It's just the fact that the other side did it. Right? I mean, Clay's got a new book coming out, Balls. And it's referencing this political issue as to why a reason why Donald Trump was reelected.
Yeah.
And I just don't. I scratch my head at the fact that we can't
Let's
get
see
to a
if we
point.
can secure the film rights to Balls, the book.
Balls. But it's like you had to reference that the
I think Clay owns his own IP, unfortunately.
The balls. Yeah, that's right.
We can get an EP credit on it, maybe.
Yeah, but I'm saying the fact that you were like, I follow
Balls,
this liberal who's,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying you're a part of what I'm discussing, but no one can have a discussion. It's got to be an argument, and that's otherwise it's an issue that is bipartisan, and I mean Title IX is, this is the definition of violation there. A man taking a spot of a woman at a collegiate campus, and no one did anything but back the man.
Yeah,
it's if you phrase it like that, no one's actually saying that that's right, but they're saying that the right is wrong, if you know what I mean. Like that's basically all it comes down to, and that frustrates the hell out of me.
It does. And while I'm thinking about it, let's reach out to Sarah and try to get her on the show because
great.
She's got all these back and forth. But it always boils down to, it's like the college football coach that's the offensive head coach, and then that coach fails, and then you automatically go and hire a defensive head coach,
Yep.
and then the defensive coach fails, so we're going to get the youngest, sexiest offensive system head coach to come in and do it. This is the political wave that we're on, that we're riding.
Yeah.
I just want to get to fundamental agreements that most every American can agree on, and the next Democratic candidate says, yeah, men shouldn't compete against women. I actually agree with Donald Trump on this issue. Here's why I'm going to be a better president than Donald Trump on these issues, or whatever. Like, that's fine. Like, the difference in political parties is good, and it can help move the country forward at times to have civil disagreement.
Yes.
But we need to all come together and agree on this. And I could read countless posts. I've been fascinated by Sarah's just constant posting about this. And what it boils down to most of the time is, Hutton, someone goes overboard in a response to her that is clearly on one extreme side, that starts bad-mouthing her or talking down to her as a woman, and then she uses that as fodder to say, oh, here it is. Here's an example. Here's the group of people that don't want men and women's sports, allegedly, but they really don't care about women at all. And it's just this fight that boils down to the inability to answer a simple question. By Sarah or anyone else that I would ask her on this show, do you think biological men should compete against women in sports? Yes or no? And then give us the answer, the reason why, yes or no, on that. And you can't give the answer yes. And that's what people are increasingly understanding more and more when they understand science of men and women. It goes back to, Hutton, what does it always say? Me good, you bad. You bad, me good. If you're on one side, I'm taking the other side no matter what. If you're going to insult me, I'm going to try to make you look like an idiot on social media. Even if you're on the right side of an issue, doesn't matter. Me good, you bad. And it gets old.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is a win.